All right. Hi, everybody. Can you just want to do a quick sound check? Can you hear me okay? I'm hoping that the audio continues to be okay. I know that sometimes this is always the first problem. Check 1 2, check 1 2. If someone could just type a quick message in the sidebar. Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you. All right. So welcome. I apologize. I haven't been around as much lately. Things have been kind of crazy. But tonight we're going to kind of go back towards the top of the curriculum for the German tradition stuff. And this is going to be most familiar to the longsword folk and maybe less so to some of the Mensur. I don't really teach the Kuchner Mensur stuff as much anymore. But we're going to kind of dive into Zornhau, or at least the Udalev interpretation or the Udalev class of the Zornhau, which is always interesting. And oh, actually, I have a whole slide for what we're going to do. In terms of announcements, there's a yoga class. Kat is teaching a yoga class this Friday. Please check it out. A lot of good information in there about like warm-ups and cool-downs, and also yoga is really good for sword folk, so do it. We have a bunch of awesome classes coming up in March, throughout March. I'm super excited. We're going to be having classes on Tuesdays and Fridays. Tuesdays are going to be more of normal, this kind of format, where I'll be teaching something. We'll get more into that in a minute. But then on Fridays, we're going to be doing, there's a lot of like great lectures and other classes happening. And sometimes Tuesday slots will be different too. Katie K is hopefully going to be is looking like she's going to be doing some more sword fitness classes towards the end of the month on Tuesday. And again, we have a lot of great lectures. We have Dan Halliday coming on. We have, again, Kat's doing yoga this coming Friday. Sign up. We have Rebecca Glass is doing a class on research, a lecture on research. And also all of our February classes will be going online soon. So if you missed anything, it'll all be up. So that should be all online by this coming Friday, and I'll make an announcement on both the Discord and on the Facebook group. Speaking of social media, we converted our Facebook group to a business account, and it automatically created an Instagram account for us. So we I'll post all that information too. It's just in case you want extra notices for when we have classes on the Instagram. And I'm sure we'll also be promoting a lot of our fun stuff as well. That also being said, one of the things that is coming up, we are entering spring. And much like we did this past spring and summer, that we are going to be offering classes outdoors, weather dependent. As we move forward and the COVID situation, knock on wood, gets better, we will be looking to do indoor classes, but that's not really in the cards right now for a variety of reasons. But yeah, so be on the lookout for for these great classes coming up, and also our fancy new social medias. Okay. And so before we dive too deep into today, I'm gonna so tonight I just want to kind of tell you a little bit about what we're doing. We'll salute in and then get warmed up. All right. So what we're gonna do tonight is we're gonna review the original text of the Zornhau. So yeah, there's going to be that little bit of academic element in like the second part, and we're going to examine and practice the basic actions because we can't really, I don't want to say do the Zornhau in its entirety, because the Zornhau is an action that you can do practice in isolation, but what we're going to really be doing is examining that kind of first chunk of the Zornhau, where it teaches you the first basic so-called hidden stroke, and then also a couple of plays, which is the Zornhau Ort, is like the first application of the follow-up action to the Zornhau, and then also the Abnehmen, which is the second, well, really third technique I'd argue that you're learning in this kind of chapter, or the taking off from above, which is when we've kind of created, which then brings us to our last point here, the Zornhau decision tree, which, so those three things, the Zornhau itself, the Zornhau Ort, the shooting in, and the Abnehmen, all kind of create the tiniest possible decision tree, and actually kind of describe to you the entire art of the core of the art of the German tradition. All right. So now that we've kind of gotten a little review, let's grab our sword-like object. All right. And on our left shoulder, let's salute in, and then we'll do some warm-ups. All right. So Achtung, Begrüße. All right. Now let's set those down again. And let's do our warm-ups. All right. Okay. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, grab your sword-like object. All right, into the High Vom Tag. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And to long point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All the way down to Albur. And 1, 2, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10. Sehr gut. Okay, so either from the high vom tag or the shoulder vom tag, your choice. Right Oberhau. Right? Und eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10. All right. Switch your feet. We're going to switch sides. So left Oberhau, either from the high vom tag or the left shoulder vom tag, your choice. Und eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10. All right. Right Oberhau. Sorry, left Oberhau, right Unter. Und eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10. Switch your feet. Right Oberhau, left Unter. Eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10. All right, sehr gut. Mittelhau, Mittelhau. Und eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs. Sorry, switch sides. Back to fünf, sechs. Oh, sorry, plant. Sieben, acht, neun, 10. All right, let's go into the ox. I'm trying to remember the long sword turns. I've been so much in Mesterland. All right, let's go into ox on the right side. We're going to do Oberhau. Right? And eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10. To the right, Neben. I'm going to keep my foot forward because I don't have a whole lot of space today. So Oberhau, right Oberhau. And eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10. Into the left ox. And Oberhau. Eins, zwei, drei, vier, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And to the neighbor on the left, Oberhau, 1. I'm so sorry, plant. I really should move you for class. You weigh like 50 pounds. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. It's a story with this plant, this monster plant here. I've had this plant for almost 11 years now, maybe 11, 12 years now. It is like the pride and joy of my apartment, urban green thumb, and I feel bad. So we'll salute out to the plant later. Okay, so now that we've gotten the cutting out of the way, let's practice our thrusts. All right, so let's all go into Flug on the right side, and we are going to thrust into Ox on the right. All right, und 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, let's go into Flug, stay in Flug on the right, and we are going to go to Ox on the left. In 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. All right, let's go into Ox on the right. We're going to wind to Ox on the left. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. All right, switch over to your left Flug. We're going to go from left Flug to right Ox. All right. Und 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. From Flug on the left to Ox on the left. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, last one. We're simply going to thrust from left Flug to right Flug. Okay? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, into the long point, and what we're going to do first is we're going to thrust to shoulder height. We're going to turn our hand so that our hand essentially is in what we call second position, or basically the palm of your dominant hand is facing down. Okay? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to thrust from the long point, but we're going to thrust into what they call a false fourth or fourth position, where the nails of your fingers or your palm is facing up, but no higher than shoulder height. Okay, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now right down the middle, hands in third or the kind of long point position, and we're just going to step forward and retract. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. Put your swords down, and we're just going to do, before we move on to the stuff, which there will be practicing, so have your sword a little ready. But we're going to do just a little bit of more workout, all right? I just want to get heart rates up just a little bit, just because why not? It's Tuesday. All right, so this next exercise is good because it works on your core, and so therefore it helps the muscles that help us cut. And it's also good because it's also we are practicing this kind of lunging position and activating those muscles in that kind of lunging position. All right, so arms together, and we're going to kick up while opening our chest. All right, or opening our arms. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Switch your feet. Make sure you get just a little bit of a tight stretch here when the leg is back. All right, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Switch your feet again, a little faster, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Switch your feet, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, let's do a few squats, maybe 10. Okay, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, and we're going to do side steps. So give yourself a little bit of space. And 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and 8, 9, and 10. And all right, just getting a little extra workout in there because we're gonna be doing some lecture stuff. Grab some water, and we'll switch over to keynote mode. I'll be right back. Let me just set up this camera. All right. All right. All right. Okay. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I just saw the note. Dr. Josh also, yes, has a class coming up about the is the mechanics of the weighted train. I will promise to go through the entire schedule again at the end. I've been having a complete brain fart today, so I apologize. Let's see. All right. So today, again, oops, why is this doing? We're going to do, so as promised, we're going to dive right into the source text. All right. Now, so now, I always want to make sure that we cite our sources. Everyone knows that I also like to really I plug this book a lot because I am I just think it's a great translation, great breakout of the system. So yeah, check out the Udalev Das Fect book. Here you can pick it up at Wooden Swords, I believe. I'm not sure if it's in stock right now, but you can definitely check with them. So for those who are following along in the book, but definitely we'll give it to here for you on the screen. So the text states, "Here begins the art of the longsword. Firstly, the Zornhau. One who throws an Oberhau is threatened by the Zornhau, or if one senses it, take off above without peril." So there are 3 lessons hidden in this text. And so this is the Zettel text itself. Now for the gloss. Know that the Zornhau breaks every Oberhau, but is nothing more than a simple peasant strike. Do it in this way. When they strike from the right side above to your head, so strike also from your right side and from above onto their sword wrathfully, and without any displacement, Versatzung, and shoot your point straight in his face or chest. I apologize. I was aiming to make this all a little more gender neutral. If one notices your point and displaces with strength, then pull your sword up from the blade of their sword, away from their sword, and strike them to the other side of the blade of their sword, again to their head. This is called Oben Abnehmen, the taking off above. So we already, in general, know all this, but I really wanted to I just wanted to break it down so that we can take a look at it kind of in the context of like how it's all laid out in the Zettel itself. So let's go ahead and do that. So lesson 1. So like I said, there's like three major lessons going on here. So lesson 1 is know the Zornhau. Know that the Zornhau breaks every Oberhau, but it's nothing more than a simple peasant strike. So the things to focus on here: Zornhau breaks every Oberhau. Okay, that's okay, good. But it's nothing more than a simple peasant strike. All right. So there's a few things to kind of gloss from this. First, we have to know what an Oberhau is. It's a strike from above, a hue strike from above. A simple peasant strike. Okay, and what we think believe they're trying to say is, unlike the Vertex strike, what we're trying to do is a really basic hewing kind of action, right? And this is kind of substantiated also by other texts talking about how, like in Meyer, it's that this line here is considered the Zornhau line. Actually, here, we're kind of borrowing a little bit here, but yes. So there it is. There's the line, and that's kind of the direction of the Zornhau. Now, what I find interesting is that because it breaks every Oberhau, what we have is the so it is. We'll get there in a second. I'm sorry. So yeah. Anyway. What this one initial lesson is asking us is to know basically what the Oberhau is, to know this cut, right? Now, something that is I also want to bring up is kind of, where is that Oberhau supposed to go? Now, a lot of times we talk about the Oberhau or the Zornhau in terms of like people teach it in terms of the center of the body. As if, like, because we initially talk about the 4 divisions of the fencer as being above the belt, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which isn't necessarily a great way of thinking about it, simply because if that's the case, then you're aiming to put your tip at center, and they're kind of like in their ribs or in their belly. You're making the sword, the setup a little low. Now, the right way to think about it is you're cutting at their throat. As you can see in the little checkmark graphic, or our little IKEA-style graphics here of do's and don'ts. So it's important when we're talking about the Zornhau as this 45-degree initial cut, is to think about it as moving between two postures, moving between Vomtag, be it on your shoulder or above, passing through that one angle, and then if nothing comes in contact with nothing, it's going to be going to Alber. All right. Now, so let's practice what this looks like just a little bit. All right. So what we have here is really kind of a practice guide, but I can show you in general how I like folks to kind of think of this. Let's see if I can do this without destroying my chair. So beginning in the Vomtag, I'm going to do it from the high Vomtag just because this is what I'm used to. Basically, I want to use this guide from here. Practice just moving your sword out, right? From Vomtag, out. Then change Vomtags. And just practice setting up that angle, right? Practice transitioning from where are my hands here to I'm about to cut that angle. Where should my hands be, right? Left hand down the middle, right hand setting up that angle, right? And then we can start, so practicing this, setting up, setting up, setting up, setting up, setting up, right? And then practicing that all the way down, right? Yeah. All the way down to Alber. Slow. And then back the Vomtag, right? So this little set here is designed to be like a little Zornhau exercise. So feel free to revisit it. We did a lot of these cuts, so we're going to kind of skip over this essentially for now. But know that it exists in this document for you. And then smooth it out and speed it up. It's always important to kind of begin slow and making the actions more intentful. And then speeding it up, right? Don't worry about fast, worry about slow and smooth, and then we can speed it up. All right, so lesson 2 is going to be the context for both the Zornhau and for kind of the follow-up actions, right? So what we have, the text is, do it this way. Then they, when they strike from the right side above to your head. Now, what they're trying to say here is that this is a setup, right? This is not something that you're going to Zornhau your way into, or Zornhau Ort your way into a victory, so to speak. You cannot do the Zornhau by acting first, essentially is what they're saying. Zornhau is a knocked action. You are reacting to the fact someone is already cut from above. You are reacting to your opponent, and you're reacting to a cut from above. Your goal is to disrupt their action in the moment, in the in-between. Now, that's not to say that you can't cut this Oberhau, this Zornhau, and strike them in the head because the Mensur is out of range. This is true, but this is case by case. What we're setting up here, distinctly this play is setting up for a thrust, as we talked about earlier. You do a cut, and then you're cutting, and then you are thrusting, the shooting in. So we have to, the assumptions that have to be made here, that Mensur is a big factor here, right? They're not saying step into the person, right? They're saying strike from your right side as a reaction to this other action. Okay. So strike also from your right side and from above, and their sword wrathfully and without any displacement. So they're asking you to do the Zorn cut, that anger cut, the wrathful cut. And you are interrupting their sword, breaking their attack. This is, in fact, a method of parrying. Ooh, the big, dirty parrying word, or warding. Because I always like to make the fact that, like, a displacement is not necessarily mean full-on parry and warding, but you are breaking the attack. I guess the point being, and we'll see towards the end why this kind of makes more sense, because what they're talking about, and without any displacement, what they're talking about is not trying to do the wide, that setting aside action, right? What they're asking you to do is cut and meet the sword. But it is a form of parrying, and I don't care what anyone says, but it is a form of parrying. What they're asking you to do is meeting the sword, to meet the sword, but not display, like literally try to shove it aside without you trying to shove it aside, because that'll mess it up, right? Or right. And then shoot your point straight towards his face or chest. So once you've done this kind of quasi parry, this kind of center line parry, so to speak, you need to push forward, shoot in your sword. The good news is if you do nothing, or if they do nothing or they respond too late, you win, right? So again, this is the setup at Mensah. You're at distance. The swords meet. Your swords meet. And because you're kind of dominating the center because you've done a reaction, right? You are able to you're able to parry their sword with the center line, and then you shoot in, right? You try to thrust them in the face. And when I do this, I always initially try to kind of wind a little bit into kind of a putting my hand in forth, or kind of a high flug, a low ox, just to kind of push the sword away. Kind of help give a little more leverage into that thrust. So there's a way to practice this, and this is actually kind of fits into that, like, practice what we do frequently with, like, this I can stop anytime I want to drill. And what this looks like is very similar to before. You are you're setting up in that Einhorn, and then you can stop, much like we do with our practice cuts, how you can cut the Einhorn from here, right? And then you can cut the long point, and you cut the Alber, and then practice stopping at each one of these spots, right? Not throwing on the brakes too early, but making sure that your hands just stop. You'll know if your sword isn't too heavy for you. You should be able to put on the brakes pretty easily. Let's see. And then next. So now it's kind of, after those practices, after you kind of practice the 3 heights, stopping at the 3 heights, because you always want to make sure that you're not just practice cutting the long point, because then that becomes a bad habit. I know, because I've done it and got yelled at and hit by a stick, much like this one. So basically, same thing, going to this long point and then practicing that thrust, right? Same kind of thing. And so this is so here. Here's some kind of a nice set of practices that we can do. I apologize. I'm trying to make sure we fit everything in tonight. So I will. This document is already in the Discord, and I will place it on the Facebook for folks as well. This is where we get to lesson 3. So now that you've noticed your opponent whose sword is high and they've cut from their right shoulder and they're going to try to cut your left side. So what you're like, no. And so you put your sword out. So you deploy your sword at a Mensur to catch their sword, right? And again, in a way that sets you up for a thrust. You start thrusting towards their face, all right? Now, here's when the but happens. But since if you're shooting in and one notices your point and displaces with strength, which means they see that coming in and they are basically, nope. They're just trying to simply move the sword away, like offline. Then you pull your sword up and come back down, right? The taking off above. Right? There we go. And so you can do the same kind of thing. You can practice the open Abnehmen. Oh, can't talk tonight. Same in a very similar kind of way. Practice slow to long point. You can practice that thrust, right? And then back to Vomtog, and then stepping into strike. And what I would recommend when you do this, aside from this initial cut to long point, finish each action in a very wide and complete kind of way, especially because we don't have feedback quite yet. We don't have people to practice this with. I think it's better to practice the position. Think about it moving between the postures and either moving it forward or even if it's stationary. All right. And then once you have that wide and it feels good and smooth and wide, do that like 10, 15, 20 times. Then what you can start doing as well is you can pretend that the sword is shorter, right? So you can practice Zornhau, Ort, slow down. And it's just kind of a mind game, and it can be difficult, especially because we don't have that counter pressure. But again, that's why these are important. And just some notes. I know it's really hard to talk about Mensur for solo drills and practice. As I said before, the Zornhau is presented here as a knock action, meaning your opponent has to break Mensur. Now, what that means is that by breaking Mensur, I mean we're usually talking about things like distances, right? And it means that your opponent is striking you, but they're striking you in a way that they think that they can. They're stepping in, and they think that. Oh, I think I paused here. I think I froze, folks. I apologize. Can folks still hear me? Is it just me looking silly on the webcam there? Okay, I think it's trying to catch up. Okay, you guys can hear me. All right, I apologize. I'm gonna let the audio kind of try to catch up a little bit, or the picture try to catch up. Yeah. So okay, sorry about that, everyone. More technical problems. I'm still working on my setup here. So yeah, the ideal Mensur is one that allows you to set up for that thrust when after your swords meet. Now, again, when we're talking a lot about like first distance, basically your opponent is reaching in because they think you've given them an opening, and especially if your sword's on your shoulder, right? You've given them an opening, and they think that they can strike you. So they're gonna, but you're staying far enough away in such a way that you aren't necessarily going to be able to be struck unless they put their foot in, unless they step, right? You want to lure them into that trap. Ashanti asks, what is Mensur? Mensur means like the weight of the fight, the scales of the fight. So it both is kind of a way of talking. It's kind of a chapter. It's like a way of talking about time and space in fencing. So that could be the distance between two fencers, which I always describe as out of distance, means everyone's safe, no one can reach each other. Someone is at first distance, which means that they need to step to strike you, and that puts you in the place. And then there's like the danger zone where either one fencer or both fencers are in striking distance. And then there's close range, which is grappling and punching and all the wrestling stuff. Right. So there's a lot of different ways to kind of control that. Some folks take a step sideways with the left foot or sideways with the right foot. Some folks take just a step backwards with their full body. But it also, you don't want to go too far backwards because then it turns into a different technique, right? If you move back and then they miss you, that's not. It turns into this knock rising thing, right? And also, you don't want to move forward to meet them if they strike too soon, because then that turns into a whole other shtick, right? So the other thing I wanted to kind of talk about is that Zornhau is possible from other guards. You can do it from Ox, which is actually the cut that we do at the beginning of class. You can do it from Flug, and you can do it from Alber. And in fact, you can do it from Long Point. And when you do it from Long Point, turns into a very much like a parrying action. It's a very tiny cut, or a small wind, right? From Long Point, everything kind of turns into this, what I like to call the aggressive wind into a thrust. And so this is, again, a little practice guide for folks looking to work on this. There's a list of different ways to do it. So this, before we move on to the paired practice part, there's a couple other, there's one other interpretation of this that I was taught that is it kind of falls in line with the more Meyer school of it. And I'm only bringing this up because a lot of people talked about it in the group and wanted to see, I don't know if the camera's caught up yet or not. It doesn't look like it. That's okay. But I'll see if I can make this. No, it's still completely okay. You know what? It's frozen, folks. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to demonstrate any videos, more video there. Let's see. Okay. Okay. So lesson 5 is our. Hold on 1 second, folks. I'm going to see if I can fix this. I apologize. This is ridiculous. Okay. Is that any better? Can you see any motion at all? No? Oh, boy, it's always something, isn't it? Ain't that just the way? Oh, shit. What happened there? No, still not doing anything, huh? Nope. Oh, okay. There we go. Okay, well, at least that's something, right? So, yeah, so one of the other things we can go over real quick, if I can get this to screen share, is the where'd my picture go? Okay, does not want to. Sorry, folks. This is really frustrating. Hold on one second. We're gonna do something here. Okay, I'm gonna present my screen. Okay, I think I'm back. That's okay. For someone who works in film and television, this is incredibly okay, embarrassing and difficult. Okay, so um, streaming technologies, man. Lesson 5, paired practice. So what I have here is a series of slides that are just kind of like little breakdowns of roles that you can play when you are practicing these specific techniques. There's a little caveat these, which you can kind of play with them and do different, combine the different stress testing and such. But these are just some suggestions, such as this first one, in which your opponent does nothing and you can strike them with the Zornhau because they hesitate too long. Again, it's about controlling Mensur, right? And then we have a version where you bind on the sword and you're able to thrust. We have a version where you can practice the taking off. And that's it. That's the end of the slideshow. That's what I have. So that is kind of like a brief, and so that's just kind of an interesting, like little brief exploration of the Zornhau. It's and kind of the curriculum materials that I use to teach it. Again, if you go towards the end of the document, there's a bunch of stuff in there or those partner drills. You can kind of pick them apart in the same way that you saw the text of the other practice slides, how everything's broken down into parts. You can break these apart and kind of practice them in chunks, or kind of vary out different segments, like having partners, your opponent practice, like giving different pressures and different actions, right? But I always like giving these drills very straightforward so that people have something very more definitive to kind of practice in that way. So that being, so yeah, that kind of takes us to the end of Zornhau. Again, I apologize for the technical issues. Again, I want to reiterate the fact that we have a bunch of really, really cool classes coming up throughout schedule of throughout March. So this was our Zorn. This Friday, there's Yoga for Swords People with Kat Hamilton. It's going to be about fencing posture. And then next week, on Tuesday, we're going to be reviewing Zornhau a little bit and then diving into Krampau. And then on 3/12, we have a workshop with Dan Holliday called This Is How We Shmew It. I don't know what that is, but I can't wait to find out. Which brings us to on 3/16, we're going to be doing Zwerchhau. And then we have 3/19, we have lecture, The Intro to Historical Research. And then the following, I'm sorry, this is also, I believe, not a complete schedule because Dr. Josh's class is on the website. Let's see. We also have classes. Katie K will be on 323 doing sword fitness. Let me see here. I apologize, Josh. I didn't. Why this is not on the graphic? Oh wait, okay. Because on so it'll be the 23rd and on the 26th. On the 26th. Dr. Josh Wickman is going to be presenting a class on rotational mechanics of swords, torque and leverage. It's going to be cool. Check it out. Check it out. Which all of is available if you go to our website, gemac.club. You'll see our schedule. And then, hold on one second, I can share that tab. So everyone should check out. Our GEMAC.club, and you click, if you go up to our schedule page, as Dina said, please sign up for class. Go to our schedule page, and you can see here you have all of our listings for this, I believe, through the end of March, and we should have April up there soon for you. So again, we got a bunch of Zettel, kind of more traditional Zettel material, and then also some really interesting stuff like sword yoga, Dan Holliday's workshop about Shmew, some historical research, some sword fitness, I'm trying to think of the best. Josh, how would you say sword science? And because I don't want to say sword stem, I know that's trademark and a whole other bag of things. So sword science, and then again, some more traditional classes that I'll be teaching, or maybe tapping in some other folks to pick up. So that being said, it's just at the end of class now. And thank you all for joining me. Again, apologize for the weird technical stuff. Yeah, if you get a chance and you're able, please check out ko-fi.com/PeterJHaas. I'll type it into the little chat there. We offer these classes for free. But you know, if you're able, any donations or tips are help kind of provide resources to keep these going, and it's always appreciated. And thank you to everyone who's contributed so far. And also, and if you can't, it's okay too. I want you to come to class and enjoy it and have a good time. You know, we live in a crazy world right now. And again, I apologize for the technical issues and my general forgetfulness today. But yeah, thank you all so much for coming to class. And if anyone has any questions, please check out the Discord, pop some questions into the Longsword channel, and it's also where the document will be. All right, Thanks so much, everyone. Good night.